best ASEAN news, everyone. With me, Vanessa. Malaysia to start COVID-19 inoculation drive to people next week.
Malaysia will receive its first batch of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines for a COVID-19 inoculation drive that is set to begin on February 26, as Prime Minister Muhyiddin Yassin says, adding that he will be the first to be vaccinated. Malaysia aims to vaccinate at least 80% of its 32 million people within a year as it pushes to revive an economy that's slammed by coronavirus-related curbs, records its worst slump since the Asian financial crisis over 2 decades ago.
Program imunisasi menyeluruh ini adalah untuk memastikan immunity kelompok.
This comprehensive vaccination program is aimed to ensuring herd immunity in the community so that we can stop the spread of COVID-19 infections and bring an end to the pandemic.
Dan akhirnya dapat menamatkan pandemik COVID-19.
Science Ministry Khairin Jamaluddin says Malaysia's cabinet also agreed to prepare a special injury scheme to compensate people who experience serious side effects after receiving the vaccine.
Yesterday, the Prime Minister chaired a special cabinet meeting and that issue was discussed. The cabinet has agreed that the Ministry of Health prepare a special vaccine injury scheme, which we will announce in due course.
Having reported a total of over 260,000 coronavirus cases, including 975 deaths, Malaysia is the third worst hit country in Southeast Asia after Indonesia and Philippines.
Indonesian elderly medical workers begin to receive vaccinations developed by China.
Elderly medical workers in Indonesia received their first coronavirus vaccinations after initial uncertainty about whether senior in the pandemic hit Southeast Asian nations would receive priority vaccines. The Food and Drug Agency says in a letter seen by Reuters that it authorized the use of Sinovac's CoronaVac for the elderly, taking into account the emergency situation of the COVID-19 pandemic and the limited information on the benefits and safety of that vaccine. Indonesia rolled out their vaccination program in January, targeting medical workers aged between 18 to 59 only, citing limited data on the safety of the available vaccine for anyone older.
Kita merasa yakin kan bahwa kita sudah divaksin.
I hope that once I am vaccinated, I'll be safe in my daily life, especially as the rate of the pandemic is going up, not down.
Yang baik dari vaksin ini sendiri.
Via Sritonga, an 83-year-old pediatrician, said after receiving his first shot at the Jakarta Health Center. Indonesia has recorded more than 1.1 million cases of the coronavirus and more than 31,000 deaths, is the highest number of cases and COVID-19 death tolls across Southeast Asia.
Filipino Catholics attend Ash Wednesday following health protocol and hope the pandemic will end this year.
Repent and believe in the gospel. Repent and believe in the gospel.
Hundreds of Filipino Catholics attended Ash Wednesday services in Manila to mark the start of Lent.
Repent and believe in the gospel.
Rather than observing the traditional method of dabbing ash directly onto churchgoers' foreheads, church officials simply sprinkle ash onto their foreheads to maintain social distancing amid further coronavirus outbreaks in the community. Church staff says that the face masks and face shields are now required at the services as part of the measures designed to safeguard the health of our faithful.
Para sa family, tsaka yung sa COVID.
It's a tradition for us to attend Mass every Ash Wednesday. I prayed for my family and for the COVID-19 pandemic to be over soon.
Every pupunta po kami. Nagsisimba po kami.
Siyempre, andun na yung
panalangin natin para maalis na
I attended Mass today to pray for this pandemic to end and for all of us who have suffered.
tayo lahat ng mga nagdurusa sa pandemic na to.
Churchgoers such as Junior Lacerda says they pray for the pandemic to end. About 80% of the Philippines' 110 million population are Roman Catholics, making it Asia's most populous Catholic nation.
Police and students from Myanmar clash in protest against military coup.
Supporters of Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi clashes with police, and hundreds of thousands join nationwide pro-democracy demonstrations in defiance of the military junta's call to halt mass gatherings. Police moves in to break up a student march in Mon State, and gunshots could be heard as officers clashed with protesters, mainly for Molamine University. The students organized a rally against the military coup, which ousted Suu Kyi, the country's civilian leader. She and other senior officials of the democratically elected government have now been detained. Several citizens across Myanmar hold protest against military after a military coup in the country that began on February 1, 2021, when democratically elected members of Myanmar's ruling party, the National League for Democracy.
South Korea carries out tests for a dog confirming as a COVID-19 patient.
South Korean government conducts a COVID-19 screening test for a dog of a confirmed patient after the country reported the first confirmed cases of
국내에서 이제 첫 번째로 코로나19에 감염된
People are worried after the first COVID-19 case in an animal was recently confirmed in the country. Therefore, we are starting the test on the pets in order to secure the animal's safety.
안전을 이제 확보하기 위해서 저희가 검사를 시작하게 되었습니다.
Seoul City implement a measure regarding coronavirus tests for dogs and cats who show suspect symptoms after being in contact with coronavirus patients, under the guidelines of Animal Management of Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs. South Korea reports the country's first confirmed case on pet after a kitten tested positive for COVID-19 at polymerase chain reaction test. Health authorities.
United States ambassador to Vietnam releases rap tape of Chinese New Year Day.
Dan Brink, as ambassador for over 3 years, starred alongside Vietnamese rapper Wo in a music video where they roamed the streets of Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City.
My name is Dan. I'm from Nebraska. I'm not a big city boy. Then 3 years ago, I moved to Hanoi. Check the calendar.
The video released by the United States Embassy to Vietnam's Facebook page have viewed and shared thousands of times. Lunar New Year celebrations, which take place across Vietnam, are expected to be slightly more muted than previous years, following the detection of new cluster of COVID-19 cases across several northern provinces.
Vietnam is the tops. I love the hot spots and hot pots. I drink cafe soda, not cappuccinos. Bring Lisi with me.
Thanks to aggressive contact tracing and target mass testing, Vietnam keeps its tally to a low 2,091 cases and 35 deaths. The Lunar New Year Tet holiday is considered the biggest celebration of the year in the Vietnamese culture and takes place on February 12th.
From now to forever, we're trusted partners, prospering together. Chúc mừng năm mới from your boy in Hanoi. Chúc mừng năm mới.
Myanmar citizens in Japan march in Tokyo to protest military coup in Myanmar.
Thousands of demonstrators marching in central Tokyo, protesting against the coup in Myanmar, many carrying photos of detained leader Aung San Suu Kyi. And several demonstrations have been held in Japan since the February 1st coup, mostly by Myanmar residents in Japan. While other countries also consider the action, Japan and some other Asian countries are unlikely to cut ties given Myanmar's strategic interest in the region. More than 4,000 take part in the protest, organizers says, streaming through the downtown shopping areas of Shibuya and Omotesando with posters saying, "Help us save Myanmar" and "Stop crimes against humanity." Tokyo police says they couldn't comment on how many people attended the event. It is very heartrending. I want to go back to Myanmar to join them, but I cannot because of the situation, travel ban due to the coronavirus pandemic. Instead, I join here today to do what I can do. Most remain silent rather than shout slogans as they march in an effort to prevent the spread of the coronavirus.
Police in Kayet State held demonstration against the military coup in Myanmar.
According to pictures published in media, police officers in uniform joined the protest against the military coup in Myanmar's Kayet State, holding a sign saying that "We don't want dictatorship." Video footage shows officers shouting slogans and giving the three-finger salute as a large group of locals came to join the group of police. Protesters take to the streets all over Myanmar for a fifth day, vowing to keep up demonstrations against last week's military coup, even after a woman was shot and critically wounded during clashes the previous day. The United States and United Nations condemned military use of force against the protesters, who are demanding the reversal of February 1st coup and the release of deposed leader Aung San Suu Kyi and other leaders of her National League for Democracy.
Singapore court provides 6-month sentences to British man who claims guilty for violating Singapore's strict quarantine rules.
A British man pleads guilty to breaking Singapore's strict coronavirus rules by sneaking out of his hotel room to meet his fiancée while undergoing 2 weeks of mandatory quarantine. Nigel Skia forced 6 months in prison for his actions for violating the two undergo 14 days of quarantine Singapore's measures because leaving his room 3 times on 21st September last year to meet his fiancée. According to the indictment, Skia twice wandered along the corridor and go to Ayamalai's room in 13 floors higher, using the stairs through the emergency exit, which she opened for him. Sentencing is expected to be carried out on February 26. Quarantine breaches carry a fine of up to $10,000 Singapore or up to 6 months in prison.
The case has been adjourned to the 26th of February for the judge to consider the sentence. That's all today. Yep.
And what are your clients' hopes for the sentencing? What are yours?
Well, they hope for the best. We have done certain submissions, but I don't wish to comment on them now because the case is not over.
Singapore has jailed and fined others for breaking COVID-19 rules, while some foreigners have also had their work permits revoked. It has largely brought the coronavirus under control, with less than a handful of new local cases a day due to strict quarantine of arrivals, contact tracing and social distancing.
Malaysia and United Arab Emirates celebrate Chinese New Year with light show and underwater lion dance.
Malaysia and United Arab Emirates colorful celebrations to mark the Chinese Lunar New Year on Dubai's Burj Khalifa Tower, the highest building in the world, while a special underwater lion dance held in Kuala Lumpur. The light show, which combines 8K ultra-high definition resolution technology with 3D effects, create a stunning visual feast for passerby that featured Chinese Spring Festival elements and various Chinese cultural symbols, including Peking Opera silk, the Great Wall, and famous Chinese scenery. The light show ends with message "Happy New Year to you from China Media Group" in Chinese. Meanwhile, in Malaysia's capital Kuala Lumpur, divers perform an underwater lion dance at Aquaria KLCC to celebrate the Chinese Lunar New Year. One diver wore a colorful lion costume and others dress up as the god of wealth. They perform in the aquarium with fish swimming around them. According to the aquarium, the activity staged on this festive occasion for 16 years.
And that's all for today. Stay safe, stay healthy by washing your hands, use your mask, and continue to maintain social distance interval. Bye.